Bienvenidos a Español 2. Este es capítulo 11, lección 2A. This is chapter 11 of Spanish 2, lesson 2A. We're going to begin today with our homework check. That's cuaderno, página 185, actividad 185.1 in your workbooks. And then we'll begin 11.2, part A, the first part of chapter 11, lesson 2. We'll review Colossians 4:3. We'll talk a little bit more about the city of Sevilla. We'll review our vocabulary of Bible terminology. We'll look at the reading of the salvation testimony. We'll look at our proverb, the refrán. We'll review the Lord's Prayer. And then we'll look at a couple of new grammar concepts today. We will talk about the uses of the subjunctive and when it would be appropriate to use the infinitive instead of the subjunctive mood. We'll also talk about using the subjunctive with expressions of doubt. So that's what's on the docket for today's lesson. Let's go ahead and take a look at that homework that you did last night. Now, if you have not completed your homework yet, you should not be watching this video. So go ahead and put a pause on it now if you have not yet completed 185.1 in your workbook. And we'll wait until you have it done before we check it. Okay, I assume you've got your homework done and you're ready to take a look at it. Let's get started then. With vocabulario, fill in the blanks below with the appropriate vocabulary terms. Todos los hombres están condenados a causa del pecado. All men are condemned due to or because of pecado, sin, pecado. Número 3. Es solo por la gracia de Dios que somos salvos del infierno. It is only because of the grace of God that we are saved from hell. Gracia, grace, gracia. Infierno, hell, infierno. Número 5. Con una actitud de humildad, yo me arrodillo cuando oro a Dios. With an attitude of humility, I kneel when I pray to God. Me arrodillo, I kneel, me arrodillo. Número 7. Dios quiere que todos se conviertan y se entreguen a Él. God wants everyone to convert and surrender to Him. Se conviertan, to be converted, se entreguen, to surrender. Número 9. Cuando tenemos dudas, debemos que confiar en Dios. Él nos da seguridad. When we have doubts, we ought to trust in God. Él nos da seguridad. He gives us security or confidence or safety. Confiar, to trust. Seguridad, safety. Hope you got all those right. If you missed any of those, make sure that you've got them marked in red pen so that you can ask about what you missed. Remember, we want you to know why you missed, what you missed going forward. El versículo de esta lección es Colosenses 4:3, orando también al mismo tiempo por nosotros, para que el Señor nos abra puerta para la palabra, a fin de dar a conocer el misterio de Cristo. Let's do a little missing word test here. ¿Qué palabra nos falta aquí, clase? La respuesta es tiempo, time, tiempo. Número 2. ¿Qué palabra nos falta? La respuesta aquí es conocer, to know, conocer. Número 3. ¿Qué palabra nos falta aquí? La respuesta es abra, open, abra. Número 4. ¿Qué palabra nos falta? La respuesta es misterio, mystery, misterio. Y la última, número 5. ¿Qué palabra nos falta? La respuesta es mismo, same, mismo. I hope you're reviewing that verse. Remember that you will need to be able to write or say that verse for the chapter 11 test. Sevilla, I hope you've taken time to watch the video over Seville, Spain. It is the capital of the area of Andalusia at the very southern portion of the country of Spain. Remember the Alcázar, that's that beautiful castle that's located there in Sevilla. ¿Cuál es la capital de Cuba, clase? La capital es La Habana. De Panamá, Panamá. De Chile, Santiago. De Uruguay, Montevideo. De Paraguay, Asunción. De Guatemala, Guatemala. De Honduras, Tegucigalpa. De El Salvador, San Salvador. De Costa Rica, San José. El testimonio aquí, en página 286, este es un testimonio de una persona que quiere testificar a otra persona. El primer párrafo dice, Tomás da su testimonio de cómo llegó a conocer al Señor Jesucristo como su Salvador. Thomas gives his testimony of how he came to know Jesus Christ as his Savior. Mira el segundo párrafo. Me crié en un hogar cristiano y siempre quise agradar a mis padres. I grew up in a Christian home, and I always wanted to please my parents. Por eso, a la edad de 6 años, después de un servicio en la iglesia, fui al altar, me arrodillé y oré, más sin entender lo que en verdad hacía. Because of this reason, at the age of 6 years, after a service at church, I went to the altar, I kneeled myself down, and I prayed. But without understanding what, in reality, I was doing. Yo pensaba que por decir una oración y tomar la mano del pastor, había nacido de nuevo. I thought that by saying a prayer and taking the hand of the pastor, I had been born again. Mira el tercer párrafo. Look at the third paragraph. Después comprendí lo que significaba de verdad la salvación. After, I understood what it meant in reality, salvation. Aprendí que todos somos pecadores. I learned that we are all sinners, Romanos 3:23. Y que la paga del pecado es muerte, and that the payment of sin is death, Romanos 6:23. La Biblia enseña que el infierno es un lugar verdadero. The Bible teaches that hell is a real place. Y que después de la muerte, si no hemos creído en Jesucristo como nuestro Salvador, pasaremos la eternidad ahí. After death, if we have not believed in Jesus Christ as our Savior, we will spend eternity there. We'll look at more of this testimony from Tomás as we continue in our lesson. Make sure you're reading this over and that you know what each of these paragraphs mean, because you will need to be able to answer these questions. They're located in página 287. Questions like número 3. ¿Por qué pensaba que había nacido de nuevo? Why did he think that he had been born again? Do you remember the two things that he said thought caused him to be born again? There were two things that he did, and he thought those two things gave him new life, helped him to be born again. What were those two things? As we continue our review of our vocabulary, we have these words here, palabras bíblicas. These are our Bible words in página 287. Words like el cielo, heaven, el pecado, sin, la salvación, salvation. And then we have verbs, arrepentirse, to repent. Remember that reflexive pronoun se would get changed to the right pronoun to match with the subject, and then it would move directly before the conjugated verb. Same with arrodillarse, to kneel. Me arrodillo, I kneel. So that conjugated, that reflexive pronoun would have to be put into the same person and move before the conjugated verb. Confesar, that is a stem changing verb. E to IE stem changer. Confieso, confiesas. Confiar, to trust. Confío, confías. So know how to conjugate those verbs as well as what they mean. Make sure that you are reviewing those verbs on your language lab as well. And then we have our proverb, refrán, from James 4:15, Santiago 4:15. Remember that our plans, we know, are always subject to what the Lord wills in our lives. And that's why we should say, according to James 15, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. Because we know that man proposes, man plans, but God is the one who does. He's the one who makes the plan happen. El hombre propone, pero Dios dispone. And then we had that beautiful picture of Sevilla, of the beautiful castle in Sevilla. And I hope you remember what the name of that castle is. It's the Alcázar there in Sevilla, España, the capital of Andalusia. Make sure you are working on memorizing your Lord's Prayer for this chapter. Remember that you will need to say this prayer at the end of chapter 1, or the end of chapter 11, capítulo 11, for a grade. You will be graded on your memorization and your pronunciation. You listen as I say the Padre Nuestro together. Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad como en el cielo, así también en la tierra. El pan nuestro de cada día, dánoslo hoy. Y perdónanos nuestros deudas, como también nosotros perdonamos a nuestros deudores. Y no nos metas en tentación, mas líbranos del mal, porque tuyo es el reino, y el poder, y la gloria, por todos los siglos. Amén. Remember, we're studying the Lord's Prayer, El Padre Nuestro. In our last lesson, we introduced Lección 2 de capítulo 11, but today we're going to start talking about some of the grammar. We've been talking about el subjuntivo, el modo subjuntivo, for a number of chapters now, the subjunctive mood. But there are times where we will not use the subjunctive, but rather we will use the infinitive. That's that completely unconjugated verb form in our sentences. In order to express your will or attitude about the actions of another person or about a particular situation, we will use this sentence pattern. Preferimos que ustedes lo hagan ahora. Here we see the preference, the will. We prefer that you all do it now. So that first verb, preferimos, is showing will, and it's exercising that will over the second verb, hagan. That's why the verb hacer there is in the preterite, or is in the subjunctive mood. Look at the second one. Siento que no vayas al banquete. I am sorry that you are not going to the banquet. That verb of emotion, siento, right there at the very beginning of the sentence, is what told us that the second verb in the dependent clause had to be in the subjunctive mood. Siento que no vayas. Notice that those two sentences contain two subjects. We have the first subject of the first verb, nosotros preferimos, but then we have que, and we move to a second subject, ustedes. One for the verb in the first clause, and then another subject for the verb in the dependent clause. If both verbs, though, refer to the same person, then it's not necessary for us to change subjects. Look at the examples here. Just use the verb plus infinitive. Preferimos hacerlo ahora. We prefer to do it now. In English, we wouldn't say, we prefer that we do it now. That's unnecessary, because it's the same subject for both verbs. Preferimos hacerlo ahora. Look at the second example. Siento no ir al banquete. I'm sorry not to be going to the banquet. I am the one that is sorry about the fact that I am not going to the banquet. There are not two different subjects involved. So when the subject is the same for both verbs, check out those second examples, how they use the conjugated verb plus the infinitive combination. That's what we want to do if the subject doesn't change. If there is emotion or volition or will being exercised about a different subject or event, as in those examples at the top of the page, that is when we would need to use que plus a subject change. Que plus a subject change. Tú vayas. All right? Let's practice a little bit here with Actividad 1. Complete the following sentences with the correct subjunctive or infinitive form of each verb indicated. Estamos en página 288, 288 in your textbook. Complete the following sentences with the correct subjunctive or infinitive form of each of the verbs indicated. Okay, I would like you to take a second and do the odds here. 1, 3, 5, y 7. Go ahead and do those on scratch paper or find a blank section in your workbook and just fill in the subject with the correct verb form. Remember, if the subject is changing, we are going to use the subjunctive mood. If the subject is the same, we don't need to conjugate the verb and we'll just use the infinitive, okay? Do 1, 3, 5, y 7. All right, you should have those done. And let's check your answers. Número 1. Margarita se alegra de recibir una carta de Felipe. She is happy to receive a letter from Felipe. She is happy that she receives it. Subject isn't changing. We don't need to conjugate the verb. Número 3. Fernando teme invitar a Marianela. Fernando fears inviting Marianela. He is afraid about him inviting. So the subject is the same for both of those verbs. We didn't need to conjugate it. We just used the infinitive. Now, número 5 es diferente. Siento mucho que los chicos estén tan temerosos. I am so sorry that the boys are so fearful. You can also tell here, class, because we used que. Que is one of those words that indicates a second clause is beginning. Since that second clausulo is beginning, we know that the subject is changing, and so we're going to need to use the subjunctive in the dependent clause. Siento mucho. I am so sorry que los chicos estén tan temerosos. Número 7. Todo el mundo se alegra de que el programa sea el sábado. All the world is happy that the program is Saturday. Notice there we use the K because the subject changes. All the world is happy that the program begins Saturday. Contrast those 4 that we did. Numbers 1 and 3, we didn't have a subject change, so we just used the infinitive. Pero números 5 y 7, en el segundo cláusulo tenemos otro sujeto. In the second clause, we had another subject. So we had to conjugate in the subjunctive mood in that second verb. Let's talk a little bit more about the subjunctive and the uses of it. Remember, we will use the subjunctive with expressions of doubt as well. Look at some of these examples here. Estamos en página 288, 288 in your textbook. The subjunctive is used following expressions of doubt or denial. That doubt in the first clause will cause the second clause to be conjugated in the subjunctive. Again, this is one of those subjunctive triggers. Doubt or denial in the main clause will cause that second clause to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Notice these examples. Es posible que yo vaya a España en julio. It is possible that I'm going to Spain in July. Es posible que. Is there doubt there? Well, of course there is. It's possible that. So there is doubt. So that phrase indicated that we would have the subjunctive conjugation in the second clause. Dudo que is I doubt that. Well, I mean, come on. Is there doubt there? Of course there is. Dudo que Roberto venga. No creo que sea el mejor restaurante. I don't believe that it's the best restaurant. I don't believe. Is there doubt there? Yeah, there is. No es verdad que Marta esté enferma. It is not true that Martha is sick. It is not true. Is that denial or doubt? Yes, it is. So when you have those expressions of doubt or denial, look at the last example. Negamos que, we deny that nuestro hermano sea ladrón, that our brother is a thief. We're denying what? That he's a thief. So that he is a thief has to be in the subjunctive mood because we are denying that, okay? The doubt or denial may range from a slight doubt or denial to a confirmed negation altogether. But either way, it is going to trigger the subjunctive mood in that second clause. Here are some, right here in the middle of your page, here are some expressions of doubt or denial. These expressions will clue you in that the second clause is going to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Es posible que, it is possible that. Es probable que, it is probable that. No pienso que, I don't think that. No creo que, I do not believe that. Dudo que, I doubt that. No es verdad que, it is not true that. There's a strong negation. That is definitely going to trigger subjunctive in the second clause. Es imposible que, it is impossible that. Yep, subjunctive there would follow as well. Niego que, I deny it. That is going to trigger subjunctive in the second clause as well. When the verb creer is used in the affirmative, however, we will use the indicative, not the subjunctive. Because if I say, yo creo que ella dice la verdad, I believe that she tells the truth. When I say I believe, I am not leaving room for doubt. I'm saying I believe it. It's true. I believe that she's telling the truth. However, if you say no creer, I do not believe, obviously that is expressing doubt and will usually be followed by the subjunctive. So if you contrast these two expressions, you'll see a good kind of summary of the subjunctive mood. Creo que ella dice la verdad. I believe that she tells the truth. No doubt, no subjunctive in the second clause. Look at the last one at the bottom of the slide. No creo que ella diga la verdad. I don't believe she's telling the truth. That no creo there is leaving room for doubt, which then triggers the subjunctive conjugation in the second clause. Contrast those two sentences and you'll get a good understanding of when to use the subjunctive and when not to use the subjunctive in the secondary clause. So creer, the verb creer, to believe, in questions can express either doubt or uncertainty according to the intent of the speaker. So this is where this would be a very difficult question kind of to assess on a quiz or a test. It really depends on what you are trying to say when you communicate the question. ¿Crees que Ana diga la verdad? If I use the subjunctive there, I'm indicating that I have doubt. Can you believe that Anna's telling the truth? I'm showing that I'm doubting that Anna's telling the truth there. But if I use the indicative, ¿crees que Ana dice la verdad? Here, I am not trying to indicate doubt. I'm saying she is telling the truth, and wow, can you believe it? So there's slight differences here in what you're communicating depending on how you're trying to say it. And again, this is the kind of thing that you should be aware of when you are writing or communicating in Spanish, that using the subjunctive in this context expresses doubt on your part. Not using the subjunctive does not express doubt. It expresses certainty. So be aware of that use of the subjunctive as well. Let's look at actividad 2. Actividad 2 en el libro en página 289, 289. Supply the appropriate indicative or subjunctive form of each verb in parentheses. So you're going to need to look here, class. Look at the sentence, especially the first clause, very carefully, and try to identify, is it a trigger for the subjunctive mood in the second clause? Let's look at the modelo together. Dudo que todos sus parientes en Barcelona. Dudo que. I doubt that. You remember that chart from our previous page? I doubt that all his ancestors or all his relatives live in Barcelona. So there, vivir, I would need to use the subjunctive because dudo que is expressing doubt. So I look at my subject of the second clause. My subject there in the second clause is sus parientes. My verb is vivir, and so I have to use the subjunctive conjugation, the subjunctive mood of the verb vivir, which would be sus parientes vivan. All right? I'd like you to do número 1, 3, 5, y 7 on scratch paper or in a blank spot in your workbook. Just write the words. You don't need to write the entire frase. Just write the correct conjugated verb, whether it's indicative or subjunctive. And when you're done with that, we'll check your answers. Okay, let's take a look at the answers here. Número 1. Es posible que los estudiantes no a la clase hoy. It is possible that the students are not coming to class today. Is there doubt there? There is. Vengan. It is possible that the students are not coming to class today. Look at número 3. No creo que su hermana sepa la respuesta. I do not believe that his sister knows the answer. Doubt. That's why saber there had to be sepa, the subjunctive mood. Número 5. Creo que todos ellos están contentos hoy. I believe that all of them are happy today. No doubt. I believe it. That is why estar there in número 5 is in the indicative, not the subjunctive. It's the regular conjugated form. Número 7. Es probable que ustedes viajen a México. It's likely that you all travel to Mexico. It's likely. It's likely. Is there doubt? If something's likely, there is doubt. Maybe it's just a little bit of doubt, but es probable leaves doubt. And so we use the subjunctive mood there for viajar, viajen. Mark any that you missed in red. If you have questions, ask me about it. I know this can be a little bit tricky, so ask questions if you're not getting these. Actividad 2 there. Let's look at actividad 3. Actividad 3 aquí, change the following sentences to make them express a doubt. Pablo dice la verdad, modelo. Pablo tells the truth. Now I can change that to make it doubtful by saying, ¿Crees que Pablo diga la verdad? Do you believe that Pablo tells the truth? Or I could say, ¿Es posible que Pablo diga la verdad? It's possible that Pablo diga la verdad. And there are many different ways that you could change these expressions to make doubt. But the important thing is that you create a valid subjunctive construction here to show that whatever is listed is in doubt. However you do it, make there be doubt and use the subjunctive correctly. I'd like you to do número 1, 3, 5, y 7 aquí on a scratch sheet of paper or in a blank spot in your workbook. When you get that done, we'll come back together and we'll check your answers. Okay, let's take a look and see how you did. Número uno. A couple different ways you can do this. And I put the subjunctive here in red so you'd be able to identify where it is. Número uno. ¿Crees que Margarita quiera ser misionera? Can you believe that Margaret wants to be a missionary? I'm expressing doubt. Or you could say, ¿Es posible que Margarita quiera ser misionera? It's possible that Margaret wants to be a missionary, but I'm expressing doubt. Número tres. ¿Crees que los jóvenes escuchen los casetes? Do you believe that the young people listen to cassettes? It's possible that young people listen to cassettes. All right, so there is doubt there. Número cinco. ¿Crees que nosotros compremos los tratados? Do you believe that we buy the tracts? Es posible que nosotros compremos los tratados. It's possible that we buy the tracts. Doubt. There's doubt there because of the subjunctive mood. And then número siete. ¿Crees que ellos tengan el mejor restaurante de toda la ciudad? Do you believe that they have the best restaurant in the city? I'm expressing doubt. I don't think they do. ¿Es posible que tengan el mejor restaurante de toda la ciudad? It's possible that they have the best restaurant in the city, but there's still doubt. However you chose to do that, make sure that the first clause expressed doubt and that the second clause was conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Let me know if you have any questions on those. And then actividad 4. Actividad 4 está en página 290, 290. I'd like you to create as many sentences as you can in 5 minutes using words from each of the following 3 columns. What I would like is at least 5 sentences here. You can choose anything from column A, anything from column B, anything from column C. Add words if you need to, but give me good sentences that will show correct use of the subjunctive mood here in Actividad 4. Okay, so go ahead and take some time. Write me 5 good sentences that give the subjunctive conjugations here. All right, I look forward to seeing those sentences. We'll see how you did on those. And that's it for Spanish 2 for today. Today was Chapter 11, Lesson 2A. We began Lesson 2 of Chapter 11. We started off with our homework check. Then we went over Colossians 4:3. We talked a little bit more about Seville. We went over our vocabulary, which was our Bible terminology. We read a little bit more of the salvation testimony of Tomás. We reviewed our refrán, the proverb about God's plans for our lives. And then we reviewed the Lord's Prayer. Make sure you are reviewing the Lord's Prayer so that it's memorized for the end of Chapter 11. In grammar today, we discussed the difference between using the subjunctive and the infinitive. And then we talked more about the subjunctive being used with expressions of doubt. I hope you understood everything in our lesson today. If you have any questions, please reach out. I would love to have the opportunity to help you more. Make sure to check your lesson plan to see what's for homework tonight. Have that done before you watch our next lesson. Que Dios les bendiga, clase. Adiós.